The question that lots of people have been talking about is, was Matt Walsh too mean in his segment on Dylan Mulvaney?
It's day 335 of being a girl, and I wanted to go on record to say that this might be the hottest I've ever looked and will ever look in my lifetime. And I'm making this video so that in thousands of years, there will be evidence. Is it the dress? It could be the dress. Is it the makeup? Or is it the hair? Because I think it's the extensions. And when I have extensions in, I don't know my name. I don't know where I live. I just know that I love these. And I know that I look like I could steal a husband, but I want to promise you, look me in the eyes. I want to promise you that I would never do that to you. Okay, I am a girl's girl, and I love ya. Woo! But seriously, this is good, right? Okay.
Now listen, I know I don't have a reputation for being necessarily the kindest or gentlest person in the world, especially when dealing with people like this. The truth, though, is that I am a gentle soul at heart, I think. And also I do feel pity, or I can feel pity, for some of these people. And so I wouldn't usually say what I'm about to say, at least not as directly as I'm going to say it. But Dylan Mulvaney is intentionally degrading women every time he does this woman face minstrel show routine. He is insulting and demeaning them and doing it on purpose, and profiting off of it, and he doesn't care. And since I have 2 daughters and a wife, I take this kind of thing personally, which is why I have to say to Dylan, if that is the most attractive you will ever look, then I don't even want to imagine what you'll look like when you're at your ugliest. You do not pass as an attractive woman or as a woman at all, even with 50 pounds of makeup and plastic surgery and clever lighting tricks. Even then, you still cannot escape what you really are and what you will always be. You have successfully shed whatever parts of you were masculine, perhaps, at least on the surface. Nobody would ever describe you as masculine or manly, so you've got that going. But your femininity quotient has not increased at a rate commensurate with the loss of your masculinity. You may not be masculine, but you also aren't feminine. Instead, you are weird and artificial. You are manufactured and lifeless. You are unearthly and eerie. You are like some kind of human deep fake. That's what you are. You are a man deprived of all the best qualities of men, but without any of the best qualities of women. Even your personality is contrived. Everything about you is fake. Nothing about you rings true. Nobody buys the act. You'll never be accepted as a woman by anyone. Never by anyone. Even the people who pretend to accept you as a woman are only pretending because they're afraid of being lectured if they don't, or because they want to use you as a platform to virtue signal. But everyone who looks at you will see something pitiable and bizarre, something utterly unfeminine in every way. You will never be able to actually have the identity that you're trying to appropriate, nor will you ever be able to fully escape the identity that you're fleeing. The best you can hope for is some kind of limbo, the worst of all worlds. And yet, even in that limbo state, you will still be a man, just not one that any of us can respect or take seriously. But other than that, champ, you're doing great.
It wasn't that good.
Well,
he was just being mean.
Well, I was gonna say, like, what he is saying is actually genuinely, like, really mean. Parts of the whole thing is true. Like, it's not like it's untrue. It's not like Dylan Mulvaney is a male and he will always be a male. And no matter how much makeup or face feminization or whatever, you'll always be a male. This is like a reality. I have a lot of contempt for these people.
That's why I don't like punching down so much, because it's like, this dude is gonna be left behind penniless. He's gonna go from being in the White House talking to the president to like nobody in 6 months.
Yeah. I'm not sure what being just unbelievably unkind achieves. I don't know. I guess it just reinforces the views of the people who think similarly.
He's trying to go viral with this, and it's.
And he will be successful. But yeah.
As you know, all I did in the segment was speak honestly to Dylan and about Dylan, a man who degrades and appropriates womanhood while shilling for child mutilation and sterilization, and does all of it for profit. Real women have tried to tell Dylan how demeaning his woman face routine is, but he only doubles down on the mockery in response. And most recently, he released a video bragging about what an attractive woman he is and warning women that he could steal their husbands, quote unquote. And this was a video that provoked my response, in which I simply told him the plain and unvarnished truth about himself, that he is not a woman, that he doesn't look like one, that the whole degrading display is not beautiful or remotely attractive, that he is imitating something he will never truly be. In other words, I said out loud what most people already think. But some of those people, the ones who agree with what I said and were already thinking it, were nonetheless very upset by my remarks, and perhaps upset is an understatement. They've called me mean and cruel and sadistic, and this has been going on for a week now with no sign of letting up. They've called me a bully and a grifter. They've said that I'm only hurting the cause by being so repulsively honest.
I've got a lot of love for the work that Matt Walsh has accomplished. We share a lot of viewers and a lot of the same views. He seemed to take issue with the criticism that he was too harsh in this video he made about Dylan Mulvaney. The way, just based on the feedback I'm getting on Twitter, which is, not the best, is that everyone seems to be straw manning and saying like, well, you're trying to say we're supposed to be nice to this guy. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is having just a real venomous type video does great among people who already agree with you. I think it kills it. Matt Walsh is the expert on the center right at going viral. It absolutely, just a heartfelt venomous thing, which is Matt is very good at, absolutely resonates extremely well with people that already agree with you. My criticism was that anybody seeing that who is like, who's this Dylan Mulvaney person, and then sees such a aggressive, venomous thing, they're not likely to be willing to learn more or move over. But both people are important. Matt Walsh galvanizing. There's very few people that mobilize people actually on the streets as well as Matt Walsh does. There'll be people I've been very complimentary of him in this whole video, but you'll see people in the comments screw you. That stuff has got to stop. Okay, I'm literally saying, Matt's done some great things. I disagree with this one insignificant thing, and for some reason myself is obviously to blame in this too. It just gets blown up into this whole thing. I don't have nothing Matt Walsh. I don't think about him. I'm not mad at him. I don't want people to unsubscribe from him. The back and forth on Twitter between him and I, don't care about it. The only reason because of Twitter being the way it is, I would just delete it and move on, but people are like, why'd you delete this, bro? Why'd you delete this, bro? Why'd you delete this, bro? That kind of behavior is super unproductive. All it does is make people double down, triple down, and never really try to admit they misspoke or try to find a common ground.
People like Jeremy from The Quartering and Sydney Watson seem to think it was unnecessarily mean and not the approach we should be taking in addressing this issue. In contrast, Matt Walsh and his defenders say this kind of tone is simply truthful, and it is necessary to successfully fight back against this ideology. Personally, I wouldn't characterize what Walsh said as being mean, but rather as being brutally honest, which I do think is very important when we talk about issues like these. The more qualifiers we add to what we say, the more we inadvertently legitimize the kind of evil and ungodly behavior people like Dylan Mulvaney are promoting. This kind of wishy-washy rhetoric is actually already extremely common in the Christian church, and it is a big problem.
Imagine this scenario. I'm opening my Bible and I'm going to preach on adultery. But listen, before I get to my text, before I get to my sermon, I just want to say that I have dear friends who are adulterers, and I love adulterers, and we should all love adulterers. I am not here today, to bash adulterers. They are people made in God's image, and adultery is... That's exactly how y'all would be looking at me if I started my adultery sermon like that, right? Or whatever else. What are you talking about? But every time a pastor gets up and preaches on homosexuality, his sermon dies the death of 1,000 qualifications. Because you got to start with, now listen, I love homosexuals. I believe God calls us to love homosexuals. I don't believe it. What is that about? That's about the 11th commandment, Christian. Because that pastor could stand up and preach about 1,000 other sins with no apology, pound the pulpit and thunder forth the word of God, and even be a little mean, a little nasty about it. And nobody will write anything. But you get on homosexuality, transgender, right? And I mean, all of a sudden, you apologize 999 times. But there's one time when you made a statement that you didn't qualify with love and sappiness, and that's what they're going to write you about.
There's a difference between being mean for no good reason and being perceived as mean for simply telling the truth without sugarcoating it. It's important to communicate the absolute evil and destruction that the LGBTQ movement and gender ideology are causing across the world. And the very fact that we do this will be labeled mean and hateful by those who support this ideology. To these people, it really doesn't matter how we call out this evil, so we may as well be as clear and truthful as we can be. Again, I'd say that telling the truth bluntly is not being mean, but it's simply being truthful, which is actually loving, because we care about the destruction that these people are headed towards, and we want to make sure they understand in no uncertain terms the evil and destruction of their behavior.
And I can't tell you how many times I've said something about a contemporary issue. You name it. You talk about, homosexuality, transgender, this or this, whatever, and you throw the thing out there. And there are the people, there are the 11th commandment Christians who come, and every problem that we have in the world is a result of Christians not being nice enough. It just sounds so offensive the way you said that.
Of course, Matt Walsh's statement to Dylan Mulvaney was missing the gospel, which we should certainly include in our message to people in the LGBT community. In another segment, Walsh praises the response of a grandmother to her granddaughter who requested to be called by her male name. Several have said that this grandmother's response is the perfect example of how we should communicate to people within the LGBTQ community.
Hi, so recently I texted my parents because I'm gonna go home for Christmas, and I said, hey, do you mind calling me Mike when I come back for Christmas? And then when I got home today, I got this letter from my grandma, and it is addressed to Miss Old Name. Not actually, but I don't want to say my real name on the internet. Dearest Dead Name, on this, our Blessed Mother's feast day, I am writing to tell you that I will not address you as Mike. My decision is probably not a surprise to you. Others may comply with your request. My anguish in your chosen name and what that means has to do with your eternal soul. Know that I love you more than words could ever possibly convey to you. No matter how you decide to identify yourself does not change my deep love for you, honey. Because of my concerns for your soul and your mental health, I am spending more time with Jesus in adoration. My cousin's last names are doing the same for you. Then she lists my 5 cousins that are below the age of 10 who are apparently offering up special personal sacrifices for me, who I didn't tell that I wanted to go by Mike. I didn't want to. I haven't talked with your godmother and her family, but I'm sure they would do the same for you. Do you know how much you are cherished and loved? It would be a joy to see you and be with you during the coming Christmas. A celebration of our Lord's birth.
That is what love sounds like. That is true maternal and Christian love. That's exactly what it sounds like from the grandmother. And this fits right into the theme of the show today, I guess, about being direct to the point and being honest and truthful. And that's exactly what this grandmother is doing for her granddaughter.
So Christians, let's not compromise or soften the truth, but let's also make sure we present the hope of Jesus Christ and the gospel, along with our forceful defense of the truth.
Thank you so much for watching. If you like these videos and want to help support this channel, the best way to do it is to just watch these videos until the end and click the subscribe button. Thank you so much for your support and encouragement.